Hey, it's Jason here from Fraser Valley Rose Farm again. Well, this video is one that I hemmed and hawed over whether I would make it or not. I've had a lot of requests by people, mainly on Instagram but also on YouTube, wondering whether I've ever used potatoes for propagation. The truth is, no, I haven't. And I'm remedying that today. I'm going to make a little experiment. The main reason I haven't is I've had no compelling reason to do so. If you look up my video on semi-hardwood cuttings, you'll see that I do it in soil, like this. I guess soilless mix is the more proper term. And I've had good success. Typically I can stick a cutting, I'll know whether it's rooted. Within 3 to 4 weeks I can pretty reliably get high percentages, and so I have no reason to add a potato to the process. However, because I've had the question, I wanted to show you what it would look like to use a potato for it. I'm going to set this up as an experiment. So I'm going to do the first stage here where I'm going to do the potatoes, and I'm going to set up a tray on my previous or my regular technique. I'm going to compare those two together. So here's what I have for this. I've got some tags, some rooting hormone for my other method. I've got the potatoes here, I've got some cuttings, and a drill. And the first thing I wanted to make comment on is that not every cutting is the same size. And that's going to be one thing that I'm going to be concerned about using potatoes. Like, one of my goals is to do this as easily as possible. So if I take a potato like this, I want to drill it and make a hole for making a cutting. If I take this one here, and I can fit that in. That's great. If I took this one here, and it's a little bit thicker around the base, now I'm going to have to change drill bits to make this work. And you see why that in general is going to really slow me down for my propagation. But again, being a good sport, doing it this way, sticking a potato, the second thing I notice is potatoes are not very flat, right? So in a pot of soil, I can stick this into a tray, have 18 up, a nice tidy way to do it. This is not very stable. So what I'll probably end up having to do, just to keep everything stable here, and to be like the other videos where I've seen the attempts to root roses and potatoes, is I'm going to end up emptying out one of these, put it inside, and then cover it up with soil, which once again begs the question, if I could fill this whole thing with soil and get good results that way, why would I add a potato? The answer to that, if I'm going to be honest, is I don't know if it'll work. The only reason it would ever be useful to me is if either it did a good job of rooting varieties that aren't so easily struck from cuttings, or whether it did such a better job rooting them more quickly that it outstrips my other method by any means. So hey, you know what? I'm not going to prejudge it. I'm a skeptic, but I'm not going to go into it with prejudice. So I'll give it a try, see how it works, and I'll get back to you with the results I'll do it in this same video, and it'll be the next scene you see. Okay, it's been 25 days since the time I took these cuttings, and like I mentioned before, it's usually about 3 to 4 weeks after the time of cutting that I can tell how the roses are doing. You can probably see already, without keeping you in suspense, that this side of the tray, it looks a lot different than this side of the tray. These are the ones that were done with potato, and these are the ones that were done without. So, like I mentioned before, about 3 to 4 weeks is about the time I can tell if the roses are rooting or not. And the way I can tell, usually, is I can go up here and just give a little pull to the cuttings. And actually I can feel already that these are pulling back. And what that means is that they've calloused and started to set roots down into the tray. Same here, and same here. So I'm going to review the details of the cuttings here. This first variety here is Fellowship, and the corresponding row here is this one here. And just by visual here, you can see these ones are still nice and green and retaining their moisture, while these ones here are starting to brown out and they look like they're dead. I wanted to maybe just pull one out here, and this is probably the wrong thing to do if I'm trying to encourage the continued rooting. But you can see at the bottom here that it's nice and calloused, and that's the formation of roots. Now, this highlights one of the problems with the potato method, in addition to it just being more trouble to do, is that it's really hard to tell, because they're stuck in a potato, and they're going to be hard to pull out anyway, so it's really hard to tell if they're succeeding or not. That one there I could tease out of the soil and find out. This one here, if I pull it out, presumably I'm going to destroy any roots that are coming on. I'm going to give it a pull anyway and just see if I can see anything across the base of this cutting. And here's what I see. I don't see any sign of callousing across the bottom of that at all. Plus the condition of this is dry and failing. So I'm going to call that row a definite fail, whereas these ones here are likely to succeed. The second variety I was going to show you here is Super Dorothy. The difference in this is even more striking. Super Dorothy is an easy rose to root, and this one here is rooted so firmly that I bet you, if I look at the bottom here, you can see that the roots are already to the bottom of the pot, which is fantastic. Here on the potato one, it's exhibiting the same thing as it was for Fellowship. Brown on the top, and if I go through the trouble of pulling it out here, I can see that there's just tissue on the bottom there, but no callousing. The other thing to note, I noticed on this one here as I pulled it out, is the potato is starting to shoot, which could be its own complication in this kind of a system. So one more reason why I wouldn't take it on as my regular production technique. The third one here is Rose de Recht, and of the three, it's probably the closest in the results right now. This one here, if I pull on it, I can get it to come out, and I can see good callousing across the bottom of the cutting there. It's still nice and green and plump. The leaves have started to die back. That's not unusual after 3 weeks of being under mist, and it hasn't started to shoot new growth yet, that the old leaves will start to die back. But on this one here, the condition is significantly worse. You can see there's drying right even on the stem here. And I thought maybe what I would do with this one here is, instead of trying to pull it and see if there's any callousing there, I might just cut it and see if I can find it that way. And looking in here, you can see there's no sign of rooting coming from the base of the stem there. It's basically just stopped dead. So I can pull that safely now and see there's no callousing there. So from these results, which is hardly a large enough sample size to be scientific, I can tell you right away that under my production situations, rooting with a potato has no advantages, in fact, a strong disadvantage. I guess you could call that debunking of the method. I have mixed feelings about that, to tell you the truth. Every time I see that videos like this, where they talk about rooting roses and potatoes on the internet, get millions of views, I think to myself, well, that's encouraging. That shows me that lots and lots of people are interested in growing roses and propagating and other horticultural topics. Then I look at this and I say, well, if they don't get good results, that could discourage their interest. So I want to show you what it looks like. To me, it doesn't look like a viable alternative to rooting the regular way. If anything, I will admit this, is that maybe you can make this work. Maybe you can make potatoes and roses work together. But it isn't something that seems to me to be easier than the standard production technique. So for my money, you'd be better off learning standard propagation techniques and struggling with those and taking the learning methods that way than it is trying the shortcut of roses and potatoes. Thanks so much, and if you have any questions, please leave those below the video.